Like, it is you will be anxious because you have no clue. You or have some other grown adult that you've never met in your life has the authority to tell you you can't when and how you're gonna see your kids. Like, it's crazy.
All right, guys. So before we get into this interview, I just want to let you guys know that I plan to interview as many fathers as possible. So if you want to be interviewed, just go ahead and reach out to me. I'll leave my email on my YouTube, on my Facebook. You can message me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, wherever if you want to do an interview. But my very first interview is going to be with Mr. Jackson, who has been following me on TikTok. And in my comment section on one of my videos that I recently posted, he said, "Hey, I'll do an interview with you." So the first question I asked Mr. Jackson was, what does he want to tell us about family court? So let's get into this interview.
So it's a rigged system, but it's still a system. That's the best way to describe it. Because that system wants to draw you out, pull as much money out of you as possible over the long term. And most guys get frustrated and quit. It's just kind of how it goes. And then there are people who really believe you can just go to court. Court's not free. All right. Between like I didn't do a long court case, but I still spent at least $10,000 minimum on the low end. That's before you even start talking about the monthly support payments I was already paying. All right. So all of
Right.
this is within like a 1 year's time. And then my everything else, so on and so forth, just adds up, and it's draining, it's stressful, it's kind of hard on you, like, but the long term, and make sure that you, when everything kind of washes out, there's gonna come a day when your kids ask what happened, and if you just say, "Oh, your mom didn't let me see you," no, no, that's not gonna
Don't
fly,
work.
because you got to remember, in our community especially, mama's word is like is up there. Like, you can't
Yes,
say nothing about whatever, and even when you prove what she did wrong, it's still your mama. They're gonna tell you that part.
that's true.
So you got to remember that as you go through these processes with your kids. In the end, it's gonna be worth it. My boys are still young. One day it's all gonna sort out. I got like a whole file folder for them one day.
Got you. What state are you in?
So I live in Kentucky. I retired out of the
Hmm.
army there. Well, kind of. That's a whole nother story. My retirement piece. But I retired originally out of Maryland. Then we moved to Kentucky because my ex was in the army.
Hmm.
This is kind of how it went. There's a lot of things in there that went the way it went, but it is what it is. Let's know that it wasn't me. Uh, like, that's the
Right.
best way to describe that situation. We're both in the army, and if you know anything about the army, you know that one person did something and it wasn't me. Uh, so going on from there, I found out a lot of this stuff out during the divorce. This is why, like,
Right.
men really got to pay attention when they deal with women, because you think she got a problem, but she just don't. She got two problems really. That's what most do. Like they say, the new guy is a new. You just never knew. Like that concept.
Right.
Um, so I found a lot of that stuff out throughout the divorce process because I just started paying attention. And when I caught on to that stuff was when I really kind of like, oh, this is what we're doing. I got it now. So it is what it is. But my biggest thing I was concerned with was, how do you make sure your kids are good long term? Because if the way it's gonna go, most guys forget, is that when it goes right, it was all her. When it goes wrong, it was you. And
Right.
you got to remember that. It's another thing that's gonna have to motivate you to keep fighting to see your kids. Like for me, my kids, my ex, she PCS and all that stuff, moved from duty station. So now I fly monthly to from Kentucky to Washington State. That's where I'm at this
Right.
week.
Okay.
So I fly monthly. That whole process, it's a whole thing. So we have an agreement, and the biggest mistake I made throughout the court process was not doing geographical restriction from the jump. That's where a lot of guys mess up at. You have to do that geographical restrictions. Now, if you're an unmarried father, you're gonna have problems because I don't know. That's a very different world for those guys. Whereas if you're an unmarried father, you're gonna catch a lot of flack because you first have to establish your paternity.
Yep.
States vary. Most people believe just because you sign a birth certificate that you have rights to your child. That I learned that from talking to other guys. Like, they don't. That's a whole process. I'm not sure what your process was, but
That's
if
what it
you're
was for me.
unmarried, yeah, you got to go through a whole nother situation. And guys have it in their head that because you were married, that it's going to be easier. It's 10% less difficult, is what I would say. Um, because if you were unmarried, you don't deal with a lot of those problems until it kind of falls apart. But if you were married to this person as you divorce, you start immediately dealing with the family court. That's where I think the difference comes in. Because like on the unmarried side, as long as you guys are good, she's not on any type of government assistance. You guys don't really have any strife yet. But when you're married, as soon as that strife finds itself in there, you immediately start going through that process. It's stressful and it sucks because you spent every day around your kids. Now you're like, oh, when am I going to see my kids again? You see,
Right.
like that whole process. That's a hard thing. And as an unmarried father, if you weren't in the same house already, like it's like, okay, yeah, she's being troublesome and being difficult, but it's not the same as if you were there every single day and saw your kid. Now you got to ask to see your child. Like it's very different.
That's true. That's true. I went through that process, the whole unmarried process.
Yeah.
I had a bad lawyer the first time around, and the second lawyer basically told me, "Look, we haven't even established paternity yet." So he was like, "All this cursing that you're doing, and you're upset about mom, traveling without telling you." He's like, "You don't have any rights." And I'm
You
in
ain't got
Florida,
nothing.
so at the time, the laws are not really changed. It's just
Mhm.
assumed that you have 50-50 in Florida, but you can still go through the same
Nah.
situation. You still got to, well, I think they fast forwarded the establishing paternity part in Florida now versus 4 or 5 years ago when I did it. It was like you have to go to a lawyer, have the lawyer start the process, and then from there, you try to get your date set with the magistrate for like a temporary parenting plan. So before I piss off the guys that got their custody pro se, I just want to let you know that you don't have to get a lawyer. If you want, you can literally go pro se, which means you can represent yourself. But I've spoken to a few guys that have went pro se and won custody. They got the 50-50 they were seeking. They said that you need to read as much as possible and ask a ton of questions. And again, do your research. Now, there are resources that you can use that can guide you through the process. I'll see if I can make a separate video on that. But for the next part of the interview, I asked Mr. Jackson why does he think so many people are having problems in their relationships. So let's get to that part of the interview. Good
That
point. Yeah.
unexpressed expectations cause most of the issues in relationships. One side expects something, the other side expects something. Both fail to communicate because they fear being told no about whatever it is they're going to talk about. Uh, I think men have this problem more than women because men just kind of go along to get along, and that's what causes most of the problems in most of these relationships. So men need to speak up a little more. Also, both sides need to clearly communicate with each other as opposed to just assuming that the other person understands you. You were raised where you were
Right.
raised, they were raised where they were raised. Just because you said something doesn't mean they received it the way that you want them to receive it. And that's what they need to work on, just better communication.
Yeah, I think
Uh,
communication probably would actually save a lot of people from family court. I mean, one of the main things you said is expectations. Expectations that, yeah, a lot of people, you're right, they have the expectations, but they don't really relay it to the other party. And so when the other party doesn't get the results that they're expecting, then you get into a situation where you're right, there's a bunch of animosity and you don't know why.
but yeah, like I said, people don't communicate well. They just assume someone understands what they're saying as opposed to ensuring there's clarity between the two people. Uh, and I do this with my boys when I speak to them. I'll say, "Do you understand what I just said?" And ask them to give it back to me in your terms so that I know that you understand. And I think people just say, "Yeah, I heard you." It irks me because you heard me speak. That doesn't mean you listened and comprehended and understand what I'm trying to convey to you. And this is the
Right.
issue I think many people have. We just got to work on that. You might be from the South. Like, you ever see the concept of you straight and how many
Yep.
different things that can mean? Uh, that's kind of how communication works. There's context clues, there's body language, there's how it was said, the tone, the moment. We just got to come to understandings and just be better as people. Like, it's not just men, it's not just women. Like, we just got to do better.
Right. That's a good point. Yeah, because I haven't been married yet, but I'm thinking about the possibility of, like, in the future, it's always open. A lot of men are saying, "Don't do it, man." As I go through the comments from the last post that I did, where I asked them like, "Hey, if you're married, what advice you'd give?" A lot of people are saying, "Don't do it," but I'm just like, if you find somebody that you feel like you trust, I feel like that's eventually where it's going to end up. Um, Unless you choose not to go there, because I just saw that Halle Berry, her boyfriend proposed to her, and she said no, but she's been divorced multiple times, so she's like, we don't need to get married.
Yeah, part of it, people are afraid of themselves because
Right.
usually we all play a part in the destruction of our own relationships. And it's hard for many people to admit to that. Like I go back and I look at me and my ex, like it's not there's no like the the climax that caused the end was just a symptom. One of what was the final whatever after all these other symptoms caused everything to fall apart. I think that's where
Hmm.
most people kind of mess up at. They like if it's one side does something, then it's all that somehow nullifies all the other problems you had in your relationship. Like, no, you had a bunch of other problems. That was like the main thing, the straw that broke the camel's back, as one might say. Or you found out later that this that now you want to blame that as the reason why everything was what it was. Plain and simple, you weren't compatible. All right, grow up, get over it, work on the thing, improve yourself. And I think that's where I think men do a better job is that they kind of figure out what they did wrong, they take some accountability, and then they uh just get better. That's why you'll see guys glow up at times after their last relationship, go be better for the next one. The problem is you may have gotten better physically, financially, and all these other things, but did you mentally improve yourself to really be ready for this next relationship?
Right.
And that's where many guys kind of mess up at. They fall into these traps of thinking, well, I just gotta make more money and I just gotta look better. No, that's not it. Up
Right.
here, you have an issue of some type that you need to work on. I was telling you, like therapy. Like I went to therapy after my last relationship, and men have to be careful with therapy because therapy in and of itself is it's not really from a male perspective in the same way that
Right.
you think it might be. It's gonna have you talking about problems. I mean, your overall goal in therapy it should be to identify your problem. Then from there, figure out how to either correct that problem or live with that problem. That's your two choices. But if you're in there for 6 years talking about you didn't get because you didn't get the dirt bike when you were 7, like no, like we're not doing that. Like
Right.
let's figure this out. Why does that bother you so bad? Do you feel like that was unfair? Why do you feel it was unfair? So we drill down to that core problem, understand why we have whatever that issue is. Because as men, we have a tendency to yield at times in relationships because we assume, well, she wants to do it this way, so we're going to do what she wants. And men, a lot of young men don't have hobbies anymore. Like, well, I don't know. Like, yeah, video games are a thing. I get it. But what else do you do?
Right.
Like, do you like going to comedy shows? Do you want like monster trucks? Do you go to the racetrack? Like, obviously, you know, I like cars, right? So,
Right.
uh, do you go to the gym? Do you go fishing? Do you, I don't know, whatever something that you're interested in that when you're not with the person you're with, you also do something too. Many guys and girls both kind of lose themselves in the relationships and don't know how to like I said earlier, I think earlier I said we don't maintain our friendships as men. We forego them for our relationship. So this is why you'll see some guys, they'll find themselves lonely because that's like that male loneliness epidemic nonsense. That's not real.
Right.
Like I laugh every time I see
I'm seeing it right now because it's funny. I know a guy. His wife passed before him. He's 88, and as soon as he passed, one of his side chicks just showed up, or well, she
it.
not she wasn't really a side chick, but she was a chick that was waiting for years,
Mm-mm.
decades. So
She ain't
wife
getting chosen.
gone, and this lady just pops up out of nowhere. And
She can
so you're
pop
right
back.
about that. Well, I wouldn't say out of nowhere, but you know what I'm saying. Like
Yeah.
she basically waiting for the wife to be the wife, and he's in his 80s. So yeah. When I heard him talk about it, I said, "Look, I'm not worried about that."
And she still won't be chosen. I'm sorry. Like she's a side chick for a reason.
She's not. She's not. She's yeah. That did not work out. But yeah, he's not worried about no loneliness at 88. He's
Yeah.
fine. Yeah, he's
Like
not.
the feeling of loneliness that most men speak about, like they can be married and still be a lonely man. Like it's I don't know where this idea comes from that just because and I think there's something happening where they're trying to make it sound like men are lonely because they don't have a girlfriend or a spouse. No, they're lonely mainly because they've given themselves to something that isn't they're not receiving anything back from, and then they feel there's a void that's happening inside of them. It's the best way to describe it. And then it's harder to make friends as an adult. Like so you got to maintain your friendships. I need guys to understand that. Maintain your friendships. I don't care if it's a group text message or just memes. sending goofy stuff to each other. Like whatever you're gonna do, but keep that connection between you and your roles, because once you lose it, you lose it. And you're 40, 50 years old trying to like ask somebody if they like, I don't know, like baseball. Like you sound like a weirdo. Like so just trying
Good
to keep
point.
those
Yeah.
those relationships together. Next thing you get your wife's or spouse sitting up on play dates. Oh, he likes football too. Like, no, we're not doing that. Like, all right, so it's rough. Maintain those relationships, guys. Like it's a thing. Me, I have a bunch of army buddies. We do stuff. We go
Mhm.
here, go do that. Like it works. You just gotta try to figure out how to keep it together. And
That's a
guys
good
just get
point.
upset. Uh, and then, like I said, people forget social media is so fake. Like what people talk about on there is really just for engagement. That's the main purpose of it. Every time you leave a comment, like all you're doing is resetting your algorithm, and they're gonna bring it back to you because your attention is the currency that they're eating off of.
Right.
Like that's
Yeah,
why you hear these people
I got
say, "Go ahead."
I was gonna say I got two friends. Speaking of the whole marriage thing and not having friends, I got one friend that I've known since middle school. Some reason I don't know what's going on in his life because he's in Georgia, I'm in Florida. He's
Hmm.
been married to his wife maybe about 5, 6 years now, and he's just kind of closed himself off from everybody. I'm like, his friends are down here. You can't call him. Everybody's blocked. And I'm thinking to myself, like, yeah, he probably is, experiencing what you're talking about with the loneliness in a marriage. Because I'm
Hmm.
like, if you lock yourself off from your friends, then who are you really talking to?
You guys, you're in Georgia, Florida. Y'all could meet up in Savannah or meet up in Jacksonville. Those are both on the line almost.
Right.
So it's like we just got to put effort into maintaining male relationship, male
Yeah.
friendships, and then don't let these girls run out here trying to say, "Oh, you like boys?" No, no, that's not the. We're not doing this, man.
Yeah,
All
they
right,
messing with
let's.
us.
Yeah, their purpose is just trying to message you,
Hmm.
and like there's stuff like I want to say Jacksonville they got the Jaguars up there. I don't know what part
Yeah.
of Florida you're in, but you guys got
Um,
like three teams.
yeah.
Uh, yeah, 'cause I went to a Jaguars game once when I was stationed in Georgia.
Good
That was
point.
way back when.
Now, but I think my issue with my friends though that are in their marriages that they kind of lock themselves off. Like even
Hmm.
there's another guy I play basketball with. There's a bunch of us that play basketball. Majority of the guys are married. They're anywhere from 30, maybe 25 to like 55, right? So a lot of them are married in there, and they play basketball at 5 a.m. It kind of gives them a chance to get out and be with other men and joke around
Hmm.
and crack jokes. And one of our friends just got married. He's probably about 2 months into his like marriage, and we're like, "Yo, where have you been? Like, we haven't heard anything from you." So I hope he doesn't, continue the trend that way. Because the point of the whole, like you said, to get together with a group of men, play basketball, joke about like sports and all that stuff. But I'm looking at him like I hope he doesn't in his marriage kind of feel like he needs to like lock himself into just his marriage and don't really do his hobbies like you said, go to the gym, play basketball. You gotta have hobbies outside of your spouse and friends outside of your
Hmm.
spouse.
Yes, because it helps. I think like in this new generation, most of these kids kind of are more online with stuff, and
Hmm.
they don't know how to like just interact. Like they just got to figure out like and if you already have a hobby, something you already enjoy, it's a lot easier to find like-minded people in the spaces that you already enjoy being in. So it's just a
Right.
matter of kind of doing that. Like if you're a person, but that depends on what your sports were. Basketball, you can continue to play basketball forever. If you played football in like high school, it's a little more difficult. Like
Yep.
there's nobody lacing up pads on a Saturday. That's just not a thing.
You ever heard
So
of
it's different.
37U? There's
I
a
seen
league
it.
on
Oh, I
TikTok.
saw it. I saw it. Like I
Yeah,
would
nah,
raise
that's
all their healthcare deductibles. Like y'all need to go sit down.
so I know at this point a lot of you guys are probably wondering what 37U is. It's a bunch of grown men playing tackle football. I'm going to include a short clip after this.
Look, Buddy got took to the bleachers. Look, he said, "You want to know what, bro? Fuck this. I gotta go." He realized I gotta go to work. I have to go to work. He do.
So in this next part of the interview, we touch on men not knowing the law and just people in general not knowing the law and not doing the research.
Like I was amazed when I saw the whole Anthony Edwards situation, and people were like, "Oh my God, when he gets his new contract, it's going to be this cost now." I was like, "No, he's not." And if you tell someone why, they're like, "That's not true. In my where I live, it's this, and this." And it's like, oh, that's just like the concept of. most men may not know this, but it's called presumption of paternity.
Mm-hmm.
With regards to if you're married and your spouse gets pregnant during separation or in a marriage, that is automatically your child until proven otherwise. And people are like, no, that's not true. They got to do this, this, and that. And because the majority of people only know about baby mom, baby daddy situations, they
Right.
argue from that standpoint. But there's a presumption of, it's called marital presumption of paternity is the term. This is something that married men especially have to look at, especially once their relationship's on the rocks and all this other stuff, making sure that their significant other is, if she is doing what she's doing, make sure she ain't trying to say it's yours. Because if you
Right.
assume it,
Paternity
because you're
test.
already, yeah, you're already on the hook, and uh, so you need to get that all taken care of as fast as possible. So you might end up, it's weird how it works. And then people will say, "Oh, I'm just going to run off to some other country." No, you're not, because America has all these agreements with other countries to pursue you for child support. The question becomes,
Right.
what country do you go to? Now, some countries it's not worth it to pursue you, so you may be safe, but the moment you go to do something, you're gonna get locked up, and you'll get extradited. That whole concept.
That's how they
So
get you, man.
yeah, the laws are far-reaching. Because for me, I just find myself in rabbit holes. I just start looking at something. Why is this that way? And I'll go look this up. Oh, that's crazy. Why is that way? And I'll go even more. Whereas most people, they just only research just to argue, go back and argue in the comment section. All right, that's the only reason they're researching something. So when they go Google, hey, tell this guy he's wrong. That's basically what they're Googling. So they're not even trying to like find knowledge and understanding of the thing that they're arguing about. They just want to be right. So they'll present misinformation. No different than that thing where, what is it? You have many women say that 90% of men who fight for custody get custody, da 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 da. That is a false
That was on
statement.
my mind. I
That is a
saw the
false
original
statement.
report. I had to
Um,
look it up.
Yeah. So it's pretty much a half truth concept because if
Mm-hmm.
you get if you wind up with standard visitation, that's considered joint custody.
Right.
So what they're doing, so you're getting 4 days a month. So it's a half true statement. Like it's not a complete lie, but it also
Mm-hmm.
leaves out a lot of information. So this is why and it was redacted or retracted once upon a time, but people the lie is already out there. They just run with it.
Yes.
Uh, like for me, I'm not about to spend my life arguing in the comment section on the internet. I got things to do. All right, I'm not doing it. And
Yeah.
people, I don't know how they got time to argue on the internet for days. I'll make a comment and then turn off notifications. You ain't about to hear from me. Like, y'all could be arguing on that comment for the rest of y'all life. I will never know because I turn off the notifications for that whatever that was and go about my life. Like why am I about to argue with you? I don't know you.
No,
Like
there's a lot
are
of people
you?
that want you to engage and continue arguing with them. After a while, you just got to walk away. Like you said, you're going to spend hours going back and forth with this person. That
Yeah.
90% thing, I keep seeing it. I actually saved the comment that I saw like last week and I was going to reply to it. And I said, you know what? I feel like I've done this already because, a lot of them, they get it from, there was one time, the first time I seen it, it was from Divorce Moms was the person that had posted it. And then she
Hmm.
cited where she got it from. And it was from this article that wasn't even like, it wasn't that it
Hmm.
wasn't credible, right? They gave their, like you said, their citation. So you go, you read the
Hmm.
study, and you sit down and you really look into the study, and the study is based in one particular part of the
One
U.S. It was like
state.
in Boston. Yeah, it was Boston. Like,
Yeah.
and they were
It
like,
was
oh,
it's in the Northeast. I don't remember exactly what state.
it was,
Yeah, it was in
yeah,
the
it was
Northeast
Boston,
though.
and so I think the area was like, Massachusetts. They're like, oh yeah, that was the state. They were like, oh yeah,
Hmm.
it was a case of like 3,000 cases, and I'm like,
Hmm.
so you're using this tiny study in
Yep.
one state to make it
Yep.
seem like it's a broader thing, like and it's a shame men for not fighting hard enough.
Yep. And they leave out the part when they go to have a conversation. The men of this study, instead, like they just leave that part out. Like they just
Hmm.
instead of saying the men of this study received custody of this amount, they just leave all of that out and then just say 90% received custody, like
Right,
joint custody. But joint custody is also another ambiguous term. It has a bunch of like different what's different has a bunch of different definitions to it. You can have liberal visitation and not have overnights at all. Like there's a bunch of ways that joint custody can be defined, and it varies from state to state. But joint custody primarily only talks about, if you really look into the letter of most state laws, it primarily speaks about legal and medical decisions.
Right.
Has nothing to do with physical custody. That's a separate issue. So this is the things that people have to pay attention to. The language of the law is written in a way to try to force you into getting a lawyer. You gotta read things 2 or 3 times. There's a lot of commas in there. I don't know if you ever looked at any of this. The family, like, if you ever looked at your judgment, how many commas are on that page?
Right.
Like, oh my God, and it's horrible.
Yep.
And people, they just gotta read, like, and reading comprehension is all time low. People don't even read things properly.
All right.
But
Appreciate you, Dallas. I like I said, you're gonna be my first interview, so it's kind of like it's gonna be one of those things I could look back on and say, yeah, man, Dallas was the first person I actually got to sit down and just talk. A variety of the conversation. Like I said, we talk about dads, just men in general, relationships. So it's definitely gonna be one of those things I'll be able to look back on, like in the years' time, and say, man, I remember my first interview.
best of luck,
So
man. I hope you become the whatever you're trying to do. I hope you accomplish it. Like, let's just be honest. I want to see everybody win. That's like
appreciate you.
that's just the truth. Like, I want to see you win. You guys, you're fighting a good fight. What is it? Dad's moving forward. He's another one.
Dad's moving forward. Yes,
Uh,
that's my guy.
there's a
Yeah.
couple others. Like, I
Who's the
really like.
deadbeat?
Yeah,
Yeah, you
that's
follow
another
who's the
one.
deadbeat?
I think I follow them on either. I see them. I think I see them on Facebook, but I think I may also follow them on TikTok. But like, I like
Okay.
seeing all of these because, like, we've had so much information for so much misinformation for so long, and then also people just don't know this system. And as more people learn about the system, they'll be better able to, like, endure it, because it's an endurance. It's not the first time you go is you're gonna get everything you ever wanted. Like, no, it's not a lottery situation. It is a grind, and you just gotta, like I said, you gotta go through it.
Facts. Will do. Yeah, we're gonna definitely get the message out there because on Instagram and TikTok, I follow a lot of the other accounts, and I always look at their content and say, man, it's great that they're putting all of these family court situations in front of everybody. Whether it's the videos that are showing like the real lot, like mom and dad situation in front of the judge and the court
Mhm.
reporters. Like people are so scared to go to court because they don't know what to expect. So it's
I
good
think
to
they're afraid of
know.
no. They're afraid of the
Hmm.
no. Like, you're gonna spend a couple $1,000s and not get what you want, and that's a hard feeling, and
Hmm.
people aren't ready for that. So that's all it boils down to. Yeah, it sucks. Like, I'll tell anybody, yeah, it sucks. But one day you're gonna look back and like, yeah, it was worth it. Like, and you're like, I wish I could have done this different and that different. And the thing about these interviews like that is basically teaching people what to deal with. Like, me telling people, like, certain states have caps on their child support. Me telling certain
Hmm.
states that if she files for even Medicaid, like, insurance, it's going to cause you a child support order. Like, all of these things are things that people need to know about. So they just got to work on that,
That's a
because
good point.
they just don't know they don't know what they're getting into. And the more information you have, it's still going to suck. Like, I don't know if you've ever, like, did any kind of combat sport before. Like, you trained a whole bunch, you were ready. Like, then you got hit in the mouth, and like, oh, okay, that hurts. Like, I don't know him, and he's really aggressive right now, and like, it's different. But if you ever done any kind of combat sport and got hit in the face, you had a plan.
Mhm.
Now you're
Right.
adjusting. Like, he's like, all right, I'm gonna throw the jab. I'm gonna circle left. All right, let me go and throw another. Like, that's what you thought you was gonna do. But then he hits you underneath
Right.
your ribs, and you're like, ooh, okay, I need to go the other direction now. So it's a
Hmm.
different concept. You just gotta, like, it's just it's different. Like, and the level of anxiety that you will have in that court system, oh, it's nothing else. Oh, it's like nothing else. Oh, yeah, it was like nothing else. Like, it is, you will be anxious because you have no clue. You or have some other grown adult that you've never met in your life, has the authority to tell you you can't when and how you're gonna see your kids. Like, it's crazy. Like, it's
Yeah,
it's it's something. It will change your outcome, but you can either be better or bitter. That's your choice.
that's a good point. That's a good point. Well, I'm trying to make sure less of the men are bitter, man. But you
They're gonna
just
be
you
bitter.
just like you said, the outcome is really going to affect some of the men. Like if they don't get the outcome that you want, and the women, but if you don't get the outcome that you want, you definitely
Hmm.
will end up being somewhat bitter, man. I definitely had to grow as a person, even though I got what I wanted. Just Co-parenting is a
Mm.
whole different man. That's a whole subject for another day.
Yeah,
Co-parenting.
it's an unnatural concept. That's why it's kind of
Hmm.
difficult. We're trying to normalize something that really isn't supposed to happen. And like I said, we just got to get better so we can have better futures for our children. That's all it boils down to.
Hmm.
And once we realize that it's not about us, everything gets better.
You've been on the TikTok live panels just off record, just
I've
like
never
I don't know.
actually
Have you
gotten
been on any?
into one. I've never gotten into one. Like I'll see them every once in a while when I do scroll through, and I'll tell you TikTok is funny because I mainly see the more controversial arguments populate as opposed to informative content. It's like people just want to argue because that gets higher engagement, is what I've noticed. So you're not going to get the ones where it's like, let's have a measured, reasonable conversation that's relatively neutral. That's not going to get you engagement. People want to argue. You don't get as many comments on
Right.
those where it's like people actually having measured conversations where people understand there's compromise in relationships and you do this, therefore I do that. And like this kind of concept. You're not going to get those on your timeline mostly because they don't expect you to engage. So just, I think a lot of it is just when you do go live, share with as many people as you can, or have people share for you, and then you should be able to pull more people in.
That's a good point. Yeah, no, all the controversial ones are the ones that are filling up. Like right now, the DDG versus Haley
Hmm.
ones are filling up because it's a lot of women coming in there just saying that she's right strictly because she's a mother, and there's a lot of
But
guys
she's
out there
not.
that just support DDG because he's dad. You know what I'm saying, or because they like DDG.
Yeah.
So it's you got two, three different types of people coming in, and they're all arguing. You're going through the chat. Chat's moving fast. You can't really follow like particular talking points because they're all like you said just in there just engage. Well, it's good for the guy that's hosting or gal that's hosting the chat, but
Hmm.
yeah, it's not really productive. It's just like you said, it gets
Yeah. There's
people into the
and
chair.
like on another like TikTok streams, like there's money in that as well. I don't know how that part works. But I
The
do know
gifts.
like people make, yeah, there's gifts. There's also based on the amount of viewers you have
Hmm. And the likes.
at one time, I think. But yeah, all of that. The like, that's why they said to get the lights up.
Hmm.
But yeah, if I had my way, when couples split, they would have to pay for an apartment, and they would rotate in and out of that spot. You know what I mean? So almost like
Right.
the child lives in this space, and the parents each have to
Second
maintain
time
their
I've
own
heard that
apartment,
one.
right? And then you're in this house
Hmm.
for a week or however long, and then you go back to your place, and the other one comes in. You guys got to do like full blown like checklist swap out, uh, and it would make people think twice about having children. And it's not because it's a you don't want to have kids. It will make you understand that you must be a reasonable, responsible adult in order to be able to do this because no one's going to save one person or the other. It's all about the child. Like,
Right.
another would be the child support maximum would be 20% of the lower earner's wage. That
Right.
way, nobody would be trying to go after one or the other. So then you would see people choose better. So if you're a high earning woman, you're not about to choose the guy to work at wherever there's a low paying thing or the guy with no job because now you the max you're gonna really get out of him is 20% of whatever he makes. And then if you're a guy, you might still try to talk to the girl who's a low earner, but at the same time, you just put your kid into a bad situation because she doesn't
Right.
make as much. So it makes people kind of work better.
Yeah,
But yeah.
I keep hearing from the women. They say, "Hey, you guys are the ones that made them. You men made them." I'm like, yeah, we got to get the right
Nah.
people in there if we try to get those laws changed
Mm,
because they don't really see it fit to change it.
yeah, they're all lawyers. You think they're gonna change it?
That's a good point.
Mm, I think people forget that. All these politicians were once lawyers. They're not changing the things that are going to generate revenue for their friends.
Right.
It's just different. Like unless the government has to make adjustments due to budget issues in the future or whatever it might be, you're not going to see family court laws truly change until the outcomes produced from these broken homes really start to affect the country as a whole. Until
Right.
then, they're it's going to stay that way. But you're going to see probably in the next 5 to 10, you're going to see more states kind of move to a presumption of 50-50 because as it stands right now, our social safety nets can't really stay the way that they are. At some point, they have to start figuring out how to keep families together because our population replacement rate sucks, our social security numbers suck. Like all these things are kind of a problem. And without more people, this is why, like, you ever notice that both sides don't, but Republican and Democrat don't really do anything about immigration because they need more people to replace the ones here. Americans aren't having kids. Like neither
Right.
side of that aisle is really trying to get rid of or really trying to stop immigration. They want immigration. They just use it as a fake talking point. That's why I laugh when people pick these Republican or Democrat talking points. Like neither one of these guys care about you. You're out here red and blue, and neither one of them care about you. Like I need you to understand that. Um, so yeah, your vote matters, but at the same time, they're still gonna do what they want to do. And no matter
Right.
how popular the change that you ask for is, they're still not going to make said change unless it benefits the government somehow.
That's a good
Because
point.
the government is a corporation. I think we forget that.
I appreciate you, Dallas. All right.
Yeah, no problem.
Well,
All right,
yeah.
holla
Thank you for your service, man. Thank you for your service. You and your ex-wife.
yeah, no, they
My
pay
my
me every
cousin
month.
is in the Navy. So when you said you're in Washington State, right?
I'm in Washington State right now.
Okay, yeah. My cousin used to
Yeah,
live there. She just retired from the Navy last year.
yeah. I'm picking up my
So
boys for the summer. That's why I'm out here right now.
okay.
So I'll pick them up for the summer, have them all summer, like that whole thing. Uh, but yeah, you ain't gotta thank me. Y'all pay me every month, man. Nice.
That's a good point.
Uh,
All
and
right.
then I got a job too, so I appreciate it.
All right, Dallas. Thank you.
All right. Bye.